Welcome back to another episode of jewelry repair using the micro welder. I hope you enjoy this. A client has this carved jade pendant that she would like to have a bail created for this so that she can hang off of a large chain. Now, looking at this, and this is 20 gauge. I think it's too thin. It needs to be balanced. And it's hard to find jump rings already made that goes around this thick. So it's difficult, and we're going to end up having to use, and I'm thinking 16 gauge is a good balance. So we're going to make something from wire, a bail, and she wants something very plain that there's slit clearance so that she can slip a chain through. So that's what we're going to be doing today, creating bails from scratch. So it so happens that the pair of pliers I use is almost the same thickness here, around here, and the clearance, I want it to be long, oblong, because if it was round, once it's flat against the body, it will be looking rather circular. So instead of clean like this, it'll end up being like this, sitting like that, and I'm not so sure if I'd like that. So I'm going to wrap something around this, some wire, and then we're going to weld underneath so that you can't see it. Even though, yeah, this is double-sided, so what we're going to do is this, and I am just going to go around such. So I'm going to first trim off some of this, and then I'm going to measure to see how much clearance I want. So it's going to kind of look like that. And she didn't specify how large of a chain, but I think I don't want it to make it very small, because what ends up happening is your chain is going to overlap with the stone if there's not enough clearance. So I think we want it like such. Okay. And then we want it to be welded here. So what I'm going to do first is, and I think I like the size, I'm going to trim both sides, and then I am going to make sides meet. I'm going to have to shift it a little bit. See if, don't worry about forming it to make it rectangular or whatnot. What we want to do is to make sure that there is enough clearance so that if you want a thick chain, this is enough. I want her to see it later after I'm done, and if it is the case that her chain is never going to be that thick and she wants to reduce it in size, it's very easy for us to just cut it and redo. But if it's not long enough clearance, then it becomes, well, I'm going to have to start from scratch. So let's do that. What I'm going to do first is easier. I don't want to damage the stone. Is I'm going to form it now slightly. So already we're getting to that look and of the shape that I want. Basically, I want it oblong. And what you should do is wrap your, if you have never used serrated or pliers with teeth, and I have video about that, but you can also wrap this in tape so that you can form it. Maybe I'm going to do that. By the way, it only takes seconds to do this. If you want a pair of pliers with, so that you don't have to do this every single time and switch back and forth, there are pliers out there with silicone. Okay. Now, I think that's good. So, I'm going to pivot. Check once more, and then later on I can form this top. I think that is something that could work. So I'm going to straighten out and then weld. I'm going to take a moment to show you. That is not going to work. What we're going to have to do is file it down, and then both sides need to meet, and then we're going to weld all the way around. So, but what I'm going to try, what we're going to do is use file. I like using the flat ones, completely flat as opposed to dome. It just works. Actually, I might take it out first so that I don't scratch the stone. Sometimes I just want to be lazy, but it's not good too. It's easier just to do it. And then I have to bring it back out the file. That's much better. Problem with doing this is it gets slipperier. Okay, I think that is pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to pivot open and get it in there. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing in a bit, so that when I bring it back, there's tension and both sides are touching. Now, I'm gonna move it, make sure that I can move it this way because I want to weld and then have it go down this way. By the way, if it was flame and flux, I would have to really coat this with protective or a wet cloth or something to protect this piece of jade from shattering if I was using open flame. But in this case, it is very simple, as you will see. Weld it. And since this is very thick, I'm going to use 9 watts and see what happens. I'm going to be tack welding all the way through. Okay. By the way, I didn't use argon gas because I just haven't had time to go get it set up. I'll show you. If we had argon gas, this would have been somewhat smoother and certainly a lot less oxidation. But it is very strong already, and I know it's melted right through. Always check. Awesome. And now I'm going to file this. It's not perfect. If I was using open flame, I would have added a lot of solder and then filed it so that you can't see demons. But now it's pretty good. Let's see. But what I'm going to do is, since it's thick enough, I'm going to do this. You can use this on the outside, and I will show you what you can do with the inside. So in the file set where I use this to file in between the two sides, I can either use this or the semicircle. I like the semicircle a lot. Okay, so basically then I can just file the inside. Actually, because the curvature is very tight, small, I'm going to use this. Just a little point here. I don't want to take too much silver off. And I like filing on a diagonal. So everyone does it differently, but I find that when it's on a diagonal, as opposed to this way, for me it's a lot smoother. I'll show you the result. There. And the best part, you can't even see it, especially when it's under this way. Now, it's interesting. It works this way, but I want it to be flatter. So you use these chinos pliers. And I'm going to simply, okay, you see how it's domed? I don't know how much clearance is required, but I think that is pretty good. Okay, I think it needs a bit more clearance. I think that's good. I'm going to straighten it out. Okay, so it looks great. The only thing is, it's somewhat crookedy, so it's very easy to fix. You press down like this, and what happens is it straightens out this way. So straightens out this way, and if you press this way, instead of curving down like this, it'll be straightened. You can tap, tap, tap on both sides. There you go. Very easy. So she wanted something that was very simple so that the focus is on this. She wanted just a thick ring. And instead of doing it round, I've done this. Done it oblong. And instead of having it with a loop where you see the silver sticking down in the loop, I made it flat so it ends right there. See? So many things you can do, and it only took minutes, and only because I wanted to measure out a little bit more clearly. But there.
I hope you enjoy that, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Stones and Findings is a wholesaler of premium quality chains and findings. I'm going to leave more information below about our company, as well as the materials and tools I've used in this video.